Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Eric Bird, here at StopStrugglingNow.com. And today we're going to talk about the wealth gap, ladies and gentlemen. What does that mean for you? Well, once you understand the significance, that means you should get on the ball to acquire more assets. It's plain and simple, but let's look and see what the main guys and who they are. And once you understand these stats, you will understand how dire it is, because the Federal Reserve and central banking systems, who do you think they work for? They aren't actually working for you. They're working for the wealthy so they can maintain their wealth and increase it. We're just nobodies. We being the OCs, the ordinary citizens. Stay tuned and welcome. Stop struggling now, gear. Check. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. Now, let's get to it. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you so much for being here. Please share the videos, because you never know who we're going to be able to help. A lot of people do not want to be recession proof, nor do they know how to become recession proof, because you cannot save your way while inflation is raging. So let's get into it, the wealth gap and why you need to make moves. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The Federal Reserve declines to hike rates. How is this possible? Why is it possible? You know why, because they are searching for that soft landing. They do not want to increase the interest rates, because once they go another 0.25 or possibly another 0.5, which they will never do, they know there's a tipping point for all of their rich, wealthy friends who have used debt to buy assets and their adjustable rate loans. That is why it's major when you have billions of dollars, even going up 0.25. That could be 2.5 million, 25 million, on top of everything else that has went up over the last 2 years. So somebody could be paying like $100 million, $50 million annually because of their billion-dollar loans. So think about this, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue. Now, let's go look at the list as of September 1st. You can see them here. For everybody on podcast, you can't see. But most richest person in the world as of September 1st, 2023, Elon Musk, number one. Bernard Arnault, Jeff Bezos, Larry Ellison, Bill Gates, Larry Page, Warren Buffett, Sergey Brin. Those are the top 10, ladies and gentlemen. So that wouldn't be insignificant. Most of you have heard at least half of these names, maybe all of these names. So Sergey Brin, I believe, owns the Nets, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, if you don't know who Bernard Arnault is, you do know who Gucci is. You do know who the higher end brands are, right? So that's his luxury house, LVMH. All right. So they own several of the brands, Hennessy and all that. So just keep that in mind. Remember what we talked about on our live stream. What do rich people have? All of these guys, what do they have? Businesses. As they become more wealthier, you have business interest. And the business interest versus everything else is larger than every other sector, larger than stocks, larger than real estate, larger than mutual funds and 401k monies. It's larger than everything as you get into being worth $100 million. Now, when you're worth less than $1 million, well, guess what the big cheese is there? when you buy a house, your house goes up in value, you get equity, and that is why that is a bulk of a person's wealth when they do not have a lot of money, because they spent all their money buying this one house. It goes up in value. Meanwhile, the other guys are out here trying to get businesses started, because the more passive income or more revenue you have, you can always buy liabilities. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. But here it is. The richest 1% own almost half the world's wealth. They do own half the world's wealth. 9 other mind-blowing facts on wealth inequality. We're going to talk about it today. If you want to see this stat, this information from Global Citizen, the link is down below in the description box. Check it out. We'll highlight a few because this is plain and simple. All right, here we go. Billionaires Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, and Elon Musk could save 41 million people at risk of starvation. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. You need to see this. Is so sickening, because it could be like not even 1% of their wealth. Those 3 guys could help stop starvation around the world. That's how crazy this is. All right? Just keep that in mind. Now, the richest 1% own almost half of the world's wealth, while the poorest half of the world owns just 0.75%. My goodness. 81 billionaires have more wealth than 50% of the world combined. Now notice, we were talking about 8 billionaires before in 2017 owned 50% of the wealth. Now, when you add up to 81 billionaires, they are over 50% of the world's wealth. Wow. Despite this, they are taxed the least to boot, with only 4 cents in every dollar of global tax revenue coming from wealth taxes. In fact, half of the world's billionaires live in regions where wealth tax is not even a thing. This is what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Now you see how you're getting left behind. There's nothing wrong with making a lot of money. But there is something wrong with if I make $35,000 annually and they want to take 20% of my money, but yet a person makes $1 billion and you're only going to take 2% of their money. That's where the problem is. You should be like taking 20% of theirs as well. There shouldn't be any of this loopholes, right? But unfortunately, you know who writes the rules. That's why you have to vote, ladies and gentlemen, for your best interest, for proper taxation equally across the board. That would help out greatly with services and a whole bunch of other things that makes countries ill. 10 billionaires, just 10, own more than 200 million African women owned combined. That's crazy, all right, in itself. 4, extreme wealth and extreme poverty have seen a sharp simultaneous increase for the first time in 25 years. 1995 and up, what happened? Technology. What happened? Stocks. What happens? Another place where you should be putting your money for recession-proofing yourself, dividend investing, and stocks that are going to be part of the biggest companies in the world, who end up being like Bernard Arnault, who has several luxury brands under one umbrella, which are several different businesses. That's the playbook, ladies and gentlemen. We've talked about this over the years. I do this video probably twice a year, a similar type of video every year, just so you guys can stay on top of this. The 5. The poorest countries are spending 4 times more repaying debts, often to wealthy private lenders, than on health care. Here's one of the things that a lot of people do not even understand. You have a lot of countries that are poor, let's say. They are just like you. They're looking for some sort of extend me credit so I can do something to make more money. That's the rule, right? That's what everybody's out here. Not everybody, but a lot of people are trying to do. So you have to ask yourself, what happens? What actually happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you're thinking, as a country, can I borrow a couple of $1 billion? And then they find BlackRock, for instance, who says, sure, we'll let you have a couple of $1 billion, but we want 10% interest, 8% interest, knowing full well the billions of dollars, they can't pay it back. which now means you have an in to potentially get into, let's just say they have to give up an asset. Let's say you have to give up your oil refineries. I'm just using this in an extreme. This is not true, but all I'm saying is I now have you over a barrel because now you owe us debt and the debt keeps mounting because you couldn't have paid us back anyhow. So a loan shark is what a lot of these wealthy people are doing all over the world. And you will curry favors when you say, remember, I loaned you $2 billion. Don't you think I should be able to buy this bank or this business or this or that? So that's how this works. You have to keep thinking, ladies and gentlemen. This is why the wealth gap cannot be stopped unless governments want to stop it and unless you in democratic areas decide to vote against a government that says, hey, we're going to allow these very, very wealthy people to pretty much run roughshod over our country, be able to bribe government officials so they can change the laws and change the rules and make it beneficial for us. So remember, this all has something to do with it around the world. This is how they enslave people. This is how central banks enslave people. They're all in, and I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but if you've been with us for 5 years, you've seen nothing but exactly this happening over time. This is also why the Federal Reserve in the United States will not increase interest rates like they should. They don't really care about 2% inflation. That's just a number that they can give to us. It's BS. They're sitting there watching it sit at 3, 4, 5%, lying to people when it's really 7 or 8%. And maybe even 10, and they're lying to people. They're going to go, oh, we're just going to sit and wait. Why are they sitting and waiting? Again, I talked about this at the beginning. It's because they know if they increase this thing 0.25, there's billions of dollars owed. Just run your calculator on $1 billion, and you do $1 billion at 0% interest, and you go $1 billion at 0.25% interest. See how much money that is. That ain't no damn chump change, ladies and gentlemen. All right? Something has to produce that amount of money just to pay the interest, not the principal, just the annual interest. So let's go. 6. The richest 1% own almost 2/3 of all the world's new wealth. See, if you came on live streams, you guys would understand. I've been talking about this forever because you are sitting here looking at the first 5 things and you're going, oh, we can catch up. Well, you can't catch up because the teeter-totter has already tilted. All right? You're way up in the air with no paddle. All right? Meanwhile, the 1%, they have the paddle on the ground. And because more money is in the system now than it was 20 years ago, they have increased wealth. So if the stock market goes up 30% and you have $1 billion, 30% means 300 million. But let's just say you have 100 million and it goes up 30%. That's only 30 million. The 300 million pound gorilla every year that they received completely is 10 times as much as the 30 billion the 100 millionaire received. So do you understand, the more wealthier they get, even just a 10% increase gives them 5x, 10x more money than the rest of the population. So when you see this here, since 2020, for every dollar of new global wealth gained by someone in the bottom 90%, one of the world's billionaires has gained 1.7. Look at this. Every dollar generates 1.7 million for the billionaire class. Okay, don't worry. There's only 2,800 and so billionaires. But what they don't include is the billionaire businesses that are holding assets under management, which are billions. See, they forget about that, which is your money, by the way, when you're putting it into your 401k, when you're saying, hey, I want to buy that JEP ETF, when I want to go over here and buy BlackRock ETF, when I want to buy all of these ETFs, mutual fund companies, most of them have billions of dollars under management. So when there's a 10% move, yes, you're going to win too, but guess what? They have 10%. $100 million, and they turn around and tell you, hey guys, You know what? Here's your 5 or 8, 10%. Thank you very much for allowing us, because you know what else the lever is? They were borrowing against assets under management as well. So they're 3 billion, let's say. They're out there saying, well, you know, who's going to give me about $500 million? So they make money off of the 500 million that you gave them. Oh my, it's devastating to us, ladies and gentlemen, the OCs. Number 7, a billionaire emits 1,000,000 times more carbon than the average person, of course, because they have the polluting industries and such as fossil fuels. Of course, that's what's going to happen. They get the subsidies, the oil, gas, energy, subsidies, right? Even if you're going to do EV vehicles, subsidies. You're paying for it, ladies and gentlemen, one way or another, siphoning off your money. 8 billionaires are collectively earning an estimated 2.7 billion a day post-pandemic and during a global cost of living crisis. Now you understand why they don't care. Now remember, the billionaires also carry with them the millionaires. There's 60 million millionaires on the planet. There's only around 2,800 billionaires on the planet. But that's sickening in itself when you consider there's now 8 billion people on the planet, including children. Now, number 9, food and energy companies more than doubled their profits in 2022. Isn't that 100%? Wasn't the Federal Reserve talking about inflation was 9% or 8% a year ago? How many people were calling BS on that? You know who it was. You know straight up. We have it. Shadowstats.com. There was no lie. We knew it was double. They're sitting here going, oh, no, it's only 10%, 9 point something percent. Worst case scenario. Here it is right here. In stark contrast, the World Food Program estimates that 824 million people went to bed hungry every night in 2022. You see that? 824 million people. That's almost 1 billion. I'm pretty sure that is 1 billion because they can't track everybody. And there's only 8 billion people on the planet. Now, shareholders saw most of the profits, with Oxfam estimating they received a collective payout of $257 billion. See? Capitalism, ladies and gentlemen. Some people are saying it's a good thing. Some people are saying it's a bad thing. All right, let's go meet some of these 8 men who are wealthier than half the globe from 2017. So this list, you're going to laugh. Remember, this is 6 years ago. 6 years ago, when there was only half was 3.6 billion. But now we're over 8 billion. So now half is 4. But look at these numbers right here. You're going to laugh when you see these numbers. You're going to be like, really? Michael Bloomberg is number 8 at 40 billion. Just keep this in mind. All right. Larry Ellison, 43 billion. All right. Mark Zuckerberg, 44 billion. Keep all these numbers. Look at this. Under 44, 45 billion, Jeff Bezos. Look at this. Carlos Slim, 50 billion. Warren Buffett, 60 billion. Amancio Ortega, 67 billion. Bill Gates, 75 billion. Well, ladies and gentlemen, these numbers for a lot of these people are a lot higher than 6 years ago, over $100 billion. And this is hilarious when you see Bezos, Zuckerberg, Ellison, and Bloomberg under 40 million, 45 billion or less, which is a hell of a, if people do not understand, $100 million, 100 million is 10% of 1 billion. So when you start rationalizing $100 million, that is insane. That's not even 10% of that is 10% of a billion. So that's some of the things you have to think about, ladies and gentlemen. So I just had to bring this up again because once again, wealth inequality gap is only going to get bigger and bigger. But you need to be in the same business as the billionaires. Business interest, offshore business interest, stocks, equities, assets under management. Stocks, IPOs, assets under management, all those go hand in hand. That's how you build wealth from damn near zero. Now, some of this in the playbook, I have to admit, is what crypto's using, trying to establish a currency, so to speak, like a dollar, and then which is a crypto. Then they try to say the crypto's worth $5, like a share. This is why the SEC has a problem, because they say it's worth a share. They're treating it like a share of stock, because that's what really it is. That coin, invisible coin, is worth nothing in reality. It's out of thin air that you determine it's worth $5. Soon as somebody buys 1,000,000 of them at $5, your company's worth $5,000,000. This is what FTX was doing. This is what our government does with our paper money and paper loans, because I can put together 10 $1,000,000 loans, a note. Then I can rush to Wall Street or some private financier and tell him these are worth $10,000,000. How much will you give me for them? And he says, well, wait a minute, is it AAA rated? Yes. Okay, well, I'll give you $2,000,000. But all you had was people sign on a dotted line that they're going to put down 5% and then pay $1,000,000 monthly for the next 20 years. Simple, ladies and gentlemen. That's how it is, right? Very, very simple. And with all that said, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. And I know it's hard out here. And that's why we have to talk about wealth inequality, because you think it's going to get better. 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck as it is. Actually, it's 64%. 73% of millennials are living paycheck to paycheck, which, by the way, millennials have to fund your retirement from Social Security. They're the ones that need to put money into the Social Security system. If they don't have high-paying jobs, how are they going to pay an extra 3%? Where are they going to get the extra 3% from? Or 4% or 2% annual increase on your Social Security or pension funds if there's not enough jobs. Now you have to understand you better be holding the assets. You better be holding the business interests. You better be acting like the billionaire and millionaire. And with all that said, keep your head up. Keep moving. And I'm out.